Okay, in today's video we talk about strange new worlds among the Lotus Eaters. After this. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and talking about this episode of Strange New Worlds brings up some things that have already been established in canon. First of all, the visit to Rigel 7 was referred to and gone back to an illusion in The Cage and the Menagerie, where Pike goes and has to relive some of the sword fighting that he has to do with the Kalar on Rigel 7. Rigel 7 being kind of a backward society by 23rd century standards. And what they find in this episode is that there has been some kind of pollution in that there's been some interference as some Starfleet equipment apparently was left behind, and it's the Enterprise's mission to go and clean it up. And so with that, that sets the story in motion. And we also get another insight into Pike's problem with losing crew members. Now, I mean, any good captain is not going to want his crew members to be left dead on every planet they visit. And in this case, it hit him kind of hard. And it was pointed out in The Cage and the Menagerie that he was very upset about this and almost ready to give up his commission due to the fact that missions like this just shouldn't have to happen. So that kind of set his character at that time, and it made the networks not very interested in Star Trek, or at least in his leading Star Trek, and so they decided to scrub all the characters with the exception of Spock and redo the show, where they bring on James Kirk, who is more of a happy warrior and adventurous and such. However, I think they did Pike kind of a disservice, because what they did in the story was catch him in a moment of self-doubt, which we know that there's a certain amount of, but that doesn't really define his character. What we do know is that he, like every other Starfleet captain, is pretty much married to his ship, and that makes relationships messy. With Captain Batel, who he's on a joint mission with before he's given the assignment to go to Rigel 7, there is the friction between the two captains in that he feels like that he's not able to do his job well enough and hold the relationship at the same time. Now, saying this right before dinner is really bad timing, and right after she'd given him a gift, which was a pendant of a mariner symbol that basically says that with it, it's a lucky charm, you always find your way home. So, and that's an episode. That is an example of Chekhov's gun. They introduce this, and you know it's going to be significant later in the story, and it was. But what I like about this episode is that they took this and they used it as a way of understanding our characters even deeper. Let's see what happens. And I don't think this has ever been done in Star Trek before, where everybody just loses their memory and is able to still save the day. How do you do that? Well, the fact of the matter is, people are still who they are. They don't know who they are. They don't remember what they're doing there, but they do have all the skills and the same drive, the same loves and hates and whatnot as they did before. They just don't remember it. They don't have the presence of mind to know what their name is or where they are or why they're there or whatever. That can be certainly disorienting, and it was for our crew. But we found that when the chips were down, the captain was still a person who was ready to lead. That La'an still knew how to do a good fight. The doctor still knew that his purpose was to heal people. And with a little bit of help, Erica Ortegas marches through the corridors of the Enterprise and says, "My name is Erica Ortegas, and I fly the ship." Now, she probably didn't know what that meant, but the computer told her that, and she was able to go to the bridge and actually steer the ship out without really putting a thought to it. It was just doing it by feel. And the essence of their characters showed just what kind of people we're dealing with. And it was a very good showcase for Ortegas, once again for La'an and Mbenga, and of course for Pike. We don't see much of number one. Spock is a little underused on this, but I don't really fault him for that because there are a lot of episodes that can be about Spock. And it gets us to know a little bit more about the bridge crew, which is a good thing. I liked this episode. I think that they had a premise that hasn't been used before. They were able to get through it believably. The cause of all of this was also believable, and the reaction that Pike had to it was also right down the center. I think that it was, and the friend that they developed, who was perfectly happy not knowing who he was or where he was, because he could function and live in the moment. And the idea that we should all live in the moment is something that's a nice thing to talk about, but in actual practice, being forced to live in the moment probably is not the best thing. So that's what I get from this. I hope you enjoyed it and can talk to us about it in the below space to do so. And while you're there, please like us, please subscribe, and please join us again. We have a couple of retro reviews. We'll be ready for you on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then we'll be back next Friday with another review for Strange New Worlds. And until then, don't go far.